You start every single day with your 135,000 employees. What is their situation? What are you doing to try to keep them as safe as possible, at the same time keep the business going?
Thank you very much for having me. First of all, I'm at the Emergency Operations Center that we have. We have a couple of them around the globe where basically we gather all the information so we can manage all our stakeholders, the customers, the employees, all the society that we're serving in this moment. So we have these centers up across the globe in order to see what's happening. But when it comes to our 135,000 employees that are the main part in the US, of course, but also around the globe, I would say the majority of them are working from home today. But of course, there are exceptions. We still have stores open in the US where we serve our customers, which is important. We have reduced the opening hours, and we have fewer stores open. And then we have the so important field technicians that are out in the field and seeing that our network is holding up, because there are two things that we are really focused at Verizon right now. Number one, the safe and healthy of our employees and our partners. And secondly, we also need to see that these crucial networks are up in this time, because communication right now is so important. So in our case, for example, we meet all our employees every day on a live webcast, all the 135,000 every day, to tell them what's happening. And then we understand the importance of network and communication.
So give us a sense of what strain that may be putting on your system, because as we're all told, as much as possible to stay home, work from home, there must be a lot more usage of your system.
In general, actually, the growth in the network is very limited. But the pattern has changed quite dramatically. We see gaming up 75% week over week. That's how much more gaming is in the network right now. We see 30% up on VPN. That's secure lines from enterprises because people are working from home. We see some 20% up on the web access, which probably also is video conferencing, etc. So we see that, and the pattern is moving out. And to be honest, we see less sort of data usage in a city like New York City on the wireless network at the moment. So that's so important for us to constantly monitor that 24/7 to see where the capacity is moving. But from an overall network, we don't see any major sort of growth in the network. It's very limited. It's more where the growth is happening and what type of application people are using. Our network is built very robust, so we have a lot of headroom in it, but we constantly need to monitor to see where we're on the right place and serving the most vulnerable in this situation. Of course, first responders, healthcare, super important for Verizon to see that those customers has all the access they need in these times, but also when it comes to education from home and all of that.
What are you learning about the pressure on your customers as a practical matter? I know that you have already said that you're going to waive late fees, you're going to not cut off service for 60 days for internet and things like that. Are you getting a sense from both individuals and, for that matter, small corporations? A lot of people are concerned about the small companies, about the sort of financial pressure they're feeling.
As the pledge we did with the other companies when it comes to keep America connected, we are trying to see that all the small and medium businesses are getting hold through this process for at least the next 60 days, or how long this is now going to be, where we're actually not going to turn them off or any late fees, we're going to charge them and all of that. So that's important. Of course, we hear some of them. We also hear a lot of large enterprises moving a lot of their capacity from their enterprises offices to have remote working, and that's a huge lift of capacity, because usually enterprises has built all their capacity in the enterprise and the office, and now they need to do it from other places. So that we hear a lot about. So we reallocate a lot of circuits and a lot of capacity out in the market in order to see that our customers and their employees can actually operate as normal as possible in these times.
One of your competitors has actually extended unlimited data plans to everybody during this crisis. Are you considering anything similar to that?
We already have that on our Fios network. You basically are unlimited, as well as for any of the most important vulnerable groups right now. The first responders, they have sort of unlimited, and they can use as much as they want. I think it's very important for this moment also to see where the patterns are going. Right now, we don't have any constraints on our network, but over time, when this is going to be for more than 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, then we definitely can measure and see how we can opt up our systems and our capacity for our customers, depending on where we see the constraints. We're very early on into this sort of moment of the coronavirus. I would say 1 week or two more, we're really going to see how these patterns are turning out in the network.
As you say, we're early on in it, but it's not too early perhaps to start taking a look at questions like, do you need to conserve cash? What's it going to do to your free cash flow? What's it going to do to your earnings? And do you have to reconsider the way you allocate capital? For example, things like capital investment in 5G. Are you going through that process right now?
I think that we already went through that process last week. So when it comes to the CAPEX, we actually decided to increase our CAPEX last week for two reasons. One, we wanted to see that we are really sure we're going to continue to have this robust network and the headroom we have. And secondly, we think it also is the right thing to do for a large corporation, responsible as Verizon is. We actually went out and increased our CAPEX guidance last week, and we are in between 17 to 18, and we went to 17.5 to 18.5 billion US dollars in CAPEX in 2020. That was one thing. The other thing we did was also that yesterday we went out to the market and looked out for liquidity, and we had the bond offering that will close on Friday this week. So yes, we're looking into that, but we're actually moving forward because we think it's an important time of the US and for US and for Verizon to actually do more investments.
You have your hands full running a very big company in Verizon, but as you look at what's going on in Washington, do you have any advice or any desire about what you'd like to see coming out of Washington, whether it's the administration working with Congress? What do you think they need to do to really minimize at least the damage that clearly is coming?
I think that we all are working with our constituencies and seeing that that is going right. I don't have any major advice for the Washington, what they're doing right now. We are, of course, working constantly with them, seeing that this critical infrastructure, like the networks, are up and running, because that's very, very important. The healthcare is, of course, very important, the infrastructure, the hospitals and all of that. But communication is also extremely important, so we can keep up and communicate with people what's happening and giving them guidance. So I think that's the message we have. Remember, or not remember, I know they remember, but that understanding the importance of the critical infrastructure in this moment as the communication networks are.
Yeah,